What's going on, everybody? This is another episode of You Ain't Got a Live podcast, episode 46. Can you believe it, money? We're 46 episodes in of
I
this
can't
wonderful
believe it, bro.
podcast.
Yes.
Wow. We
Yes.
already hit a year. Now we're on 46. Soon we'll be at 50. Soon we'll be at 100. And
Yeah.
it's been a journey. It's been a journey. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but it's been fun nonetheless. First and foremost, if you're tuning in with us, thank you so much. We appreciate everyone who tunes in to us through these lives. Second of all, if you're new here, welcome. Please like, please share, please subscribe. We do these every Friday, 5:30. If it's not 5:30, we'll say 5:30-ish. But we try to stick to 5:30. We're actually able to get on at 5:30, so that's a big accomplishment for us. Money,
Yes.
how are you doing today?
Man, I'm great, man. What about you? It's Friday. We get to do the pod. I'm looking forward to these conversations. Man, this is a great day for me, man.
Yes, love it Friday. And the weather was nice. Went out to the park, you know what I'm saying? It was nice. A
Oh, man.
little food crawl. Nonetheless, though, we got some juicy topics for you, as you guys can see from the title. Senator Bernie Sanders is trying to get a new bill passed. So we're going to talk about that and how that can affect everything. The NFL coming up, draft going on, and they're still making moves of what to do with their teams going forward for the offseason. And of course, we got the NBA buzz. So, first and foremost, are you ready to talk about this bill, Money?
Yes, I am so ready for this topic, man. I've been waiting to see your thoughts on it and everything regarding this because this is an interesting topic.
For sure. So, for those that you don't know, Senator Bernie Sanders has introduced a bill with the allies in Congress that redefined the full work in America from 40 hours a week to 32 hours per week. Workers keep the same pay and benefits, and anything over 32 hours will equal overtime pay, excuse me. In simple terms, work less hours, get paid the same, and get overtime sooner. What do you think about this, Money?
Okay, so I did a little bit of research on it, and I had thoughts regarding it. I'm like, hey, how would this work, right? Okay, so I look at it like this. I'm like, hey, the bill was proposed because it would give better work-life balance, right? You would work 4 8s, and you would be off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I was looking at it, and I'm like, so our biggest businesses like McDonald's, Wendy's, all these restaurants and everything, Red Lobster, how would it affect them? Is my thought process. But then I thought about it like this: the workers would work less hours because you would have to break down the shifts, right? Half of the team works, from Monday through Friday. Half the team works, from Saturday to whenever, Saturday to Tuesday, and that way the businesses will be able to operate regularly. But to me, I would love it, bro. I gotta work. I get a 3 day weekend every week. Let's go. I will be all down for it. Anything over 32 is overtime. Shoo, let's go. Hey, dudes
Yeah,
will
the
have
off-
second jobs. A lot of dudes will have second jobs because of that.
I think that defeats the purpose. The purpose is to increase work-life balance. But for you to get that time back, instead of spending it with your family, you say, I'm gonna work more. Then it's like you're not taking the full advantage of the bill itself. So I mean, I guess if you got that hustler mindset, then sure, go for it. But I think that wouldn't be the smartest use of your new free time. But essentially, it would change the federal labor law because it would amend the Fair Labor Standard Act that was set in the 1940s, which originally set the 40-hour work week. Overtime rules would get stricter. Overtime would start at the 32 hours a week instead of the 40, which also applies to longer days. So 8-hour days, overtime, 12-hour days would be double pay. How many times have I know I've worked a couple 12-hour shifts before in my life and didn't get double pay. So that would definitely change a lot of things. The biggest thing is pay protection because initially when I ran this by a couple people, they was like, why would I want less money? And it's like, you won't make less money. You can't cut the salaries just because the hours are reduced. 40-hour paychecks become 32-hour paychecks. You get the same money. So It will be a gradual rollout. It wouldn't flip instantly. Work weeks will have to shrink over time. So it'll be okay. So you're at 40, then you'll be at 38, then 38 to 36, et cetera. Slowly get it down. Reduce it step by step over years until it becomes a natural flow. And why is Senator Sanders pushing this? Is where the philosophy comes from, and actually the heart of the bill. The biggest argument is productivity has exploded around 400% for most of the production the last decade, but wages haven't risen and hours didn't drop. So his point was, we're producing more, so why are we still working the same? The second argument was technology should be beneficial to workers. AI and automations means less human labor needed. Sanders' vision is, instead of firing people, let's reduce the hours for everyone. The argument number 3 is quality of life. Less people getting burned out, more family time, better mental health. How many people do we know in the month of March that are just flat out burned out with their job and the year just started?
A lot.
Exactly. So what it would mean in real life.
How many hours was the work week before the 42-hour work week? The 40-hour work week came along.
I mean, I'm not sure. That was in the 1940s. I wasn't even a thought, so I didn't go that far in research.
I was wondering if you knew it. It probably was doggone 60 hours.
It probably wasn't a set number. So companies, because I did see that companies back then used to abuse people. Like, for example, you would be working, hey, money, I need you to stay an extra 2 hours. And it's like, I already worked my shift. There was no guidelines of, oh, well, either you work it or you're fired. Now it's like, hey, if I work these extra hours, you have to give me overtime. So I think that was the biggest thing too. Just that set for the overtime. So, but a lot of this translates to 4-day work week, same paycheck, which means more free times. And for the companies, they will pay more overtime, essentially have to hire more workers and increase efficiency. So the debate comes down to, supporters of it say studies show same or higher productivity with fewer hours, workers are less burned out, could improve hiring process. Some world trials like UK companies kept revenue stable and workers were a lot happier. Now, the cons, or people against it, said the costs for businesses will go way up. It could lead to layoffs, price increase, automations, replacing workers with faster at a faster rate, not realistic for healthcare, retail, and logistics. Also, politically, even more Democrats aren't fully on board, with Republicans strongly opposing it.
What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, I find it fascinating. I think on the surface level, when you first hear less work, same pay, obviously, who doesn't want that? You mean to tell me I can work 8 hours less a week and still get paid the same? Oh, yeah. Who wouldn't be on board for that? But it's a lot of politics that goes into it, sadly, and then, the very realistic truth is the bill is very unlikely to pass anytime soon because Congress is divided, business lobby hard against it, and it's a massive shift in how the economy works. It's more like playing a flag for the future workers rather than passing a law tomorrow. So we'll be halfway close to retirement before this bill could actually see a light of day, sadly.
Yeah, it has to go through the House, Congress, the president. I personally would love it, but I don't think it'll get passed due to everything you're mentioning, like the workers, be like, shoot, I get to spend more time with my family, and then the jobs are like, nah, we're not all for that. And the big companies are the ones who are talking to Congress, slipping them an extra 50, like, hey man, make sure this law don't get passed.
Right. And then it raises the big question of that when technology is supposed to make life easier, who's actually benefiting? And it's two sides. In Sanders' vision, workers get time back, society evolves past the 40-hour grind, and the opposing view is economy runs on output. You can't force efficiency without consequences. So my first one is, how would you take a 32-hour work week if it meant businesses might raise prices?
That'd be a bad thing because it would defeat the purpose.
Mm-hmm. And to the people at home who don't understand, well, why would that raise prices? If workers get paid the same amount for fewer hours, then labor becomes more expensive per hour of work. And when major cost goes up, business look for ways to make the money back. One of those ways, raising prices. So if we break it down to a real logic, before the bill, worker may make 800 for 40 hours a week. That's $20 an hour. After the bill, workers will still make 800, but now workers get 32 hours. That becomes $25 an hour. That's a 25% increase in labor costs per hour. So what does that do to the businesses? They got four main options, and none of them are free. One, raise price, which is probably going to be the common denominator. To keep profit stable, companies may change more for product services. An example is a restaurant pays staffers more per hour, but the menu prices are going to go up. So your Big Mac that's $4.99 is no longer going to be $4.99. Number two, hire more workers, which this will solve all the world's problems. Hire more workers. How many times have you went somewhere and the place is understaffed? And then it gives
a lot.
It not only does it makes that person who's working by themselves and who's understaffed stressful, it makes your experience as a consumer bad. Because it's like, all right, bro, like I get you're understaffed, but you forgot my drink, I'm missing my fry. Like it's so many little things that it makes it a bad experience for both people. Because as the worker, you're like, man, you need to be understanding. I'm understaffed. And it's like, as a consumer, I understand that, but I don't feel bad for $1 billion company not trying to hire people. So
I agree.
So hire more workers. If they need the same total hours, they must hire more employees. That means more salaries, more benefits, more training, also higher costs, which means they're going to be putting more money out, which honestly, this bill is against businesses, honestly. And that's why I think it won't get passed. Three is cut costs elsewhere, which means automate jobs like self-checkout AI, which we're starting to see a lot at Walmart, reduce staff, and cut benefits, which is what we don't want. We don't want people to get laid off even more because the hours of the work week changing. And so that's where the criticism comes, where people say this could hurt workers long term. And the last and fourth option is accept the lower profits. Some companies might just take a less profit, but realistically, shareholders aren't going to love it. So the least likely is to scale it up and the prices specifically go up. And a way to look at it for people who are a little lost right now, who are gamers, think of it like you're running a Madden franchise and you have a salary cap. Player salaries goes up, but the revenue stays the same. So what do you do to combat that? You can either cut the players or make more money somewhere else, which is why you do promotions or the merchandise goes up, you know what I'm saying? Some type of charity event. Either way, charging more is easier.
The food goes up.
Mm-hmm.
Hamburger already $8 at these NFL stadiums.
Exactly. And the real tension comes where the supporters like the idea of productivity might stay the same or improve. Happier workers means better performance. So businesses won't actually lose the money. People are going to want to do more because they're not working as less.
Yeah.
And prices don't need to go up. But the other side of the coin, they say not every job gets more efficient. Many industries need those hours as far as restaurants, hospitals, and delivery services. So less hours will actually mean less output, but same pay, which is higher costs, which means the price needs to go up in order to combat the loss.
But hospital bills are already crazy.
Yeah.
Shoot, dudes are dodging going out of the hospital. They're going to the hospital.
So that was one that could be doing. A real world example is a pizza shop. Before, 5 workers, 40 hours a week meant 200 hours total. Now, 5 workers, 32-hour weeks, that means 160 hours. Now they're short 40 hours of labor. The fix to that is to hire more workers, which I think that's the fix to life itself, or pay overtime. No company wants to pay overtime. You know that as well as I know that. Like, that's big in retail, people not getting overtime. And now you're starting to experience it in your company, because you said they used to get overtime, and it was like, actually, no money, no more overtime. Or they strict how much overtime you actually can get, correct?
Yep. That's how they do it.
So the truth of the matter is prices don't automatically go up. They go up if productivity doesn't offset the reduced hours. The whole bill hinges on one big gamble. Can we produce the same amount in less time? If yes, this works beautifully. If no, consumers feel it at the register. Some real-world examples of places experimenting with this. The number one place is Iceland. They ran some large trials from 2015 to 2019. Workers moved from a 40-hour week to a 35-hour week. And obviously it's not, 32, but it's close. And the results was productivity stayed the same, or in some companies even improved, worker happiness became way up because they do those polls and those surveys, and the surveys were all positive due to less work. And stress and burnout was 80% down from what it was previously based on the surveys. And the crazy part is 85% to 90% of Iceland workers have reduced hours or flexibility now. This is the strongest real proof that less hours can work. Another example is United Kingdom had a private sector trial. 60 companies tested 4-day, 32-hour weeks, same pay, fewer hours. 92% of those companies kept it after the trial due to the fact the revenue stayed stable and productivity increased. Employers felt less burnout and fewer sick days because you got to think, if you're killing yourself, and some jobs require you to work 45 to 50 hours a week. So if you're working in it, because I've had some interviews where places will be like, yeah, we need you to work 55 hours a week. I'm like, so y'all pay overtime? Yeah, we don't mind, but we need you here 55 to 60 hours. And you think about it like, oh, that's some good money, but 60 hours a week is insane. It's a lot of work. So obviously, if you're working like that, you're going to have a couple sick days where you're not really sick, you're just exhausted. So businesses didn't collapse. They actually liked it a lot. Another example, Japan had a Microsoft experiment where Microsoft tested 4-day work weeks. Productivity jumped for 40% by them. Meetings got shorter and more efficient. Employees reported better work-life balance. But the sad reality is it wasn't rolled out nationwide, and Japan is still a very hard work long hours culture.
I'm going to say this. I'll say, I remember, because you're talking about you had a job that was like, yeah, I work 55 to 60. I had a job that told me, hey, you will work more, but make less. I was like, what sense does that make? Who want to work more and make less?
Well, no company said that to you. They probably said how it works, and then you piece that together. Yes, no company would say you're going to make less money and work harder.
That's how I pieced it together. I'd have made less and work more. Now I was like, nah, bro, that don't make no sense. But this won't be work less and technically you're making more at that point because your salary will go up. So yes, I would take this. And
do you think it's worth the risk of prices going up?
I'm gonna say this: prices have went up no matter what.
That's a fact.
Gas is up, groceries is up. After COVID, everything skyrocketed in price, and then everybody's like, "Oh, we're gonna get it lower." No, they're not, because companies are making all-time profits. Nobody's gonna take less money. Like how you were saying, "Oh, these companies need to take less money." They're not. They're not. It's been a proven fact. Why would I take less money? This is what they're thinking.
Because at the end of the day, the consumer is going to pay it. It's like, how bad do you want it? How bad does it? What does it mean to you? And so, some people just need their fix.
You know what's true? The truth is, if the CEOs took a little bit less, everything would probably go smoother. Yeah. Because they're like, a lot of companies are like, oh, we're losing workers. Well, your CEO is making 32 million and
you
lost, and then you fired like whole departments. Maybe if he took 16, you could
on top of him making his 32 million money, there's some borderline corporate espionage going on with the stock market of the company that he's playing with, but that's a different conversation, right?
Yeah. Oh, hey, not only is he taking 32 million, he's getting shares of stock too, but we ain't gonna talk about that one.
That's the America we live in. But I think my final thought on this, honestly, I see a lot of benefits of it. I think the nail in the coffin for me is that last point you just made. Price is going to go up regardless. So, and prices have been going up, especially gas. Gas is getting crazy. So taking all that into consideration, I'm all for it. If I got to pay a little extra to get Flint his McFlurry with M&Ms, so be it. 25% increase in my pay, and I gotta pay $2 extra for a burger, or the jar of pickles go from $6.99 to $8.99. So be it, man. Because eventually it'll balance itself out. That's not including your yearly raise you'll get, or if you get a new job with a different company, which theoretically, if you're leaving your current company, is for a pay increase. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Same here. Let me just pay that extra $2. I'll go on about my day.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, or are we going on to our next one?
Now we're going on to our next one. I enjoyed this topic, man.
That was a good one. Yeah, that was a good one. So, NFL offseason, ladies and gentlemen, so much is going on. More recently, Jalen Waddle was traded to Denver. Now, I remember telling Money, hey, Waddle was very unhappy that they got rid of all his homeboys. And you said, quote, A-Chain's still there. I'm like, that is not a friend of his. And what happened? Jalen Waddle is officially a Denver Bronco. What are your thoughts on this trade?
We're tanking. Dude, ask my thoughts. We tanking. Like what else? What else is there to say? We got Malik Willis. You know that Will Smith episode when he at home by himself.
Mm-hmm.
There's A-Chan and Malik Willis is outside looking for somebody to throw to. Hey Jay, man, start working out, man. You might be a Miami Dolphin receiver right now.
Start working out. Jeez, man, it's getting slim out there for sure. It's getting real slim out there. So, me and Money had a couple trades that we believe will happen.
Hold on, we got to talk about compensation.
Compensation? What compensation for what? Oh, for what they got for Waddle? What'd you get for Waddle?
We got a first-round pick, the 30th pick. We got a third, and we switched fourth-round picks. So that gives the Dolphins about 4 third-round picks this year. So, hey, maybe they take a chance on a guy like.
Do you feel like, obviously, putting your feelings of the trade itself aside, as far as the value you got for it, did you think it was a good trade?
We got more than the Panthers got for Bears got for DJ Moore. And DJ Moore has had a better career to me.
DJ Moore ain't been good the past couple of years with Caleb. Him and Caleb haven't been good.
It ain't been that great, but I think he's been, more of a number one than Waddle because Waddle's always been second fiddle to Tyreek Hill.
I was about to say that's not really his fault. I agree with you, but that's not really his fault. Because we saw he did his rookie year.
But he's always hurt. A lot of catches. He's always hurt. Even though he's not hurt, he's hurt during the game. He's
only missed 6 games in his career, which is still insane to me. I had to fact check that like 4 times. Waddle has only missed 6 games in his career.
And how many times have we seen him waddling on the sideline?
That's facts. It feels like he's always coming out the game for an injury. I feel like every time in fantasy football, Jalen Waddle is being examined. Or you'll see him on the sideline with his helmet like this. And it's like, bro, what's going on? So, yeah, he definitely feels like he's always dinged. Even if he's playing or he gets dinged and he come out the game.
Do you think he's worth $30 million a season?
Man.
That's how much he's making.
That's a lot.
That's why we got off on him.
I think he's obviously a number 1 receiver, but $30 million is a lot for a guy I can't really trust. Broncos to the Super Bowl. Says the guy who likes the Jets. But anyways, no, man. I mean, sheesh, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Obviously, you're rooting for him. So I got 2 trades that I believe not only should happen, but will happen. Well, let me rephrase that. They should happen, and I also believe they will happen. I had a third, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to give that take because the third player is in such a weird space. And once I say his name, no. And once I say his name, you're going to be like, I know what you mean. So you want me to go first? Or you want to take the lead?
You go first.
All right. So first guy on the board, AJ Brown. AJ Brown has been very clear. He's starting to get disgruntled in Philly. He needs a new home. So I have 3 destinations for him. Number 1, Miami. I feel like it's very clear Miami needs a receiver. While the truth, he is number 1. We'll see. He is number 1, but we'll see if he can stay a full season. So I have AJ. His top destination is Miami. He walks in, clear cut number 1. We know Malik has nobody else to throw to. He'll be a locker room tone setter, like, hey, and he's an offensive centerpiece. There's no competition, no confusion. It's just him and Malik. and Malik needs whatever help he can get. So when in doubt, he'll have AJ Brown to throw to. I think the price tag for this one will probably cost you this year's first, next year's first, a second round pick, in the mid to third round pick. I think due to the fact that we know Philly has to come off on, I personally will be willing to offer a first, a second, and maybe a third or a fourth. And the reason why I'm okay with giving up that first is you're not taking the quarterback. You're drafting hella high to begin with. So
no, they could take pick 30. We're trying to pick 30. We ain't trying to pick 11.
That's what I'm saying. They might want pick 11. That's the thing.
Oh, no.
That's what I'm saying. So it all depends. That's why if I do give up 11, I'm not giving you 2 firsts. If you do convince me to give you 11, you can't have 2 firsts from me. So I think that would just instantly turn that receiver room around. And obviously Dolphins don't have the luxury to overpay. So this will be a little aggressive. So as far as fit, I think it's a 10 out of 10. Unstoppable, no defensive answer, pick your poison. Now he would get double teamed and stuff like that. But I think this will be a really good fit. Clear cut number 1, he gets a fresh start. Malik Willis has a guy he can trust, and is not completely being thrown out to the wolves as it looks right now. Because as of right now, the Dolphins are the worst team in the NFL. Heading into next year, they have the worst roster. They are worse than the Jets. You do understand that, right?
We have the youngest roster in the NFL right now.
So,
and Ron, to say something to Ron, no Miami for AJ. You like the Bills? The Bills just traded for DJ Moore. Why would they trade for AJ too?
So yeah, that wouldn't make any sense.
I don't like that trade to Miami. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I think it defeats the purpose of trading Waddle. I look at, like, if we look at the Packers way, right? They build through the draft. I think they're going to draft the receiver high. I just don't know if it's going to be in the first round. That's my main thing.
That's fair, but at the same time, though, Malik needs somebody to throw to money. Yes. You can't just keep running the current locker room out there, which I like Malik Washington. Money can vouch for me. I've always been a fan of Malik Washington, and I'm also a fan of Terrence Marshall Jr. But these are 2 young, unproven guys. So
you can see what you have in them.
Presence in there. Yeah, for sure. You can see what you have them, and it's going to land you a top 5 pick.
That's the point. You go out there and get, you get that boy Jeremiah Smith. Tank for Jeremiah.
Yes, you could get Jeremiah Smith in the top 5, but also money. It all depends on Malik Willis. What if he looks bad? Then you just wasted his money on a quarterback, and you got to go get another quarterback. You can't cut 2 quarterbacks in a row. You already taken a bajillion-dollar hit for Tua. You can't cut Malik and take that cap hit as well. You're going to be in salary cap hell until you're 50.
Hey, Jay, that's the point. You had Malik, unless you're going to get a top 5 quarterback, Malik is going to be on the team no matter what. So I look at it like this.
And I got 3 quarterbacks going top 5 next year.
I look at it like this, right, Jay? My plan. We'll talk about the plan more when it comes to the draft, what I prefer Miami to do. But I think they're going to take a receiver. They're going to take multiple, because you have multiple 3rd round picks. I think they're going to take one in the 2nd or 3rd round. They might take one in the 1st round at the back end.
I like KC, the kid from Texas A&M. I think he'll fit Miami.
How tall is he?
He's about 6'6".
Okay, yeah, I can take him.
He's a hard worker. He's a great kid off the field. I really like him a lot. He's probably my favorite receiver in the draft, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm getting off topic with that. We'll talk about the kids closer we get to the draft, or who we like, who we think should go where, et cetera, et cetera. But Miami's my number 1 spot. Obviously, as far as the front office, the cap gymnastics would be insane. The salary cap gymnastics, Miami.
They ain't got a salary cap, Jay.
Yeah, it would be insane. So that's my top pick for him. Number 2, New England. It's almost a perfect fit. They just got rid of Diggs, clean receiving room. It'll be no politics, no target competition. AJ Brown would immediately walk in like, this is my offense now. And we saw a lot of those Patriots games where they were lacking a true number 1, and Diggs just didn't. As good as he was this year, I don't want to discredit him. Coming off of ACL, as good as he played this year, the big games, unfortunately, Diggs did not show up. And by cutting him, they freed up a lot of money. So I think this is just a no-brainer fit for him. Obviously, the draft flexibility. By them trading for AJ, that means they don't have to force a receiver pick until they really love somebody. So you don't have to reach on a rookie that you don't really love, like the guy from Alabama. So we shall see. And that way they can take the best player available. So you get Drake May and AJ Brown for a couple years, and then next year you can look to draft a rookie. For them, it'll probably be a first, a second, and a third or a fourth. About the same for Miami, but since they have a lower pick, I think they'll probably be more stern on it too because they have the money to potentially sign AJ to a deal. And as you like to say, don't pay twice. So if I'm giving you a first and a second, I'm not probably going to give you a third. I can do a 1, a 2, and maybe a fourth, especially if I'm going to extend AJ out. And I have heard rumors that Diggs may be going back to New England once his legal issues have cleared up. But I'm not buying that per se because you could have reworked his contract to begin with. So we'll see.
You would not cut him in the first place if that was the rumor.
I think that would have, like I said, I think would have reworked his contract or something.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you would cut him and then be like, nah, come on back. What do you think of this
trade
one?
3.
Trade 3? Huh?
This one, I think this is the most likely scenario, him going to New England due to the fact that they have his old coach in Mike Vrabel.
Yeah. And Vrabel has stated that he did not want to move off AJ. He was actually very upset that they did trade him when he was there. So we'll see how that works out. Number 3, Baltimore Ravens. Lamar finally gets a true alpha wide receiver, and he's not the typical archetype that Lamar has had to play with. AJ Brown is big, physical. He wins through contact, and he punishes guys one-on-one. He's a perfect receiver duo. You have Zay Flowers on one side, AJ Brown on the other side. I think that would be a really good combination. Plus, you got Bateman still. I think Bateman's a good number 3 receiver. That'll give you a nice little thunder and lightning. The play action will be insane because you have to respect Baltimore's run game. So imagine a defense biting that and AJ's wide open on a breaking in route across the field or a slant takes it 20 yards to the crib. I think that would be a big one.
Him and Derrick Henry, they be singing that song "Reunited," and it feels so good, you know.
And Baltimore has felt like they're one piece away for years. Mm-hmm. They brought in Trey Henderson for their defense. They build up their run game. Obviously, Derrick Henry. How many more great seasons do you think Derrick has in him? I think last year might have been the last one.
Great. I'll say I could see 2 good.
We can say good. I won't say great. Say good. How many more good seasons he got left?
I'll say 2.
Because, I mean, it is after last season, in my opinion, I think it is on the board that Derrick Henry may be one of those guys that's just never bad.
Yeah.
I feel like he's earned that respect from me. So he may never be bad. So that's why I said as far as good seasons, man.
I have to see how long he plays because I'll say 2 to 3, depending on how long he plays, because I don't see Derrick Henry playing until 40. He's what, 31? 31?
He's, yeah.
So I'll say about 35, he'd be done. I'll say he could still get 1,000 yards, but I don't see him getting those crazy long runs and everything.
No, but I mean, this is a big one. I think this would be a good fit for him as well. A team that needs number 1. So absolutely. Where's somebody you think? What's one of your trade predictions?
I seen a trade that I really liked. Achane to the Bears for Swift and a 2nd-round pick. I would take that in a second because you get Swift, who's a decent running back. He's not a bad running back. And you get a second. And plus, you get to see what you have in your young guys. I love Jalen Wright. I like Ollie Gordon. I think those 2 have potential. Are they as explosive as Achane? No. But me and you like bigger running backs. Let's just call it.
For what it's worth, Jalen Wright is close. He might not obviously be like Achane, but but he is a faster back, and he's also a lot bigger than Achane.
Yeah, I think he would last longer in the NFL, be to take those hits, because we've always had that conversation. How long can these running backs, these smaller running backs, take those hits? And I don't think the running back position is as valued as it was back in the day. Like back in the day, Achane probably would have went for 2 firsts.
Yeah.
Now, back end first, maybe
And
future
utilization
first.
also matters too. He's
Yeah.
a dual threat back. He runs the ball. He also catches passes at the backfield. Even late last year, we saw him line up at slot. So, I mean, I think that also is bittersweet because it increases his value but hurts his value long term because his health.
Yeah.
He's getting the ball in multifaceted ways, and he's 5'8", 188. He's small. So,
You're probably bigger than him in high school.
yeah.
So he's explosive. Yes.
Yes.
I love him, but it like at the beginning, I remember I was telling you, I was like, the Dolphins are going to trade Achane. He's like, man, that ain't going to happen. And now Waddle's traded. They got rid of everybody else. And you're like, man, I don't know, bro. You might be right.
I mean, I wanted Waddle in Carolina last year before we went and got Tet. I really think Waddle would have helped stretch the field because we don't have any field stretchers.
Yes.
We have Xavier Legette, and he's fast, but he doesn't take the top off as much as I would like him to. So I still think we need a field stretcher. And unless Legette shows us he could be that guy, then yeah. So I think imagine if we would have had Waddle and Tet, we had a pretty good offense. And a lot of people still believe in our Jonathan Brooks, even though he's young and unproven. I think he has two bad knees and will never be a good NFL running back, but we'll see. I think it's still we'll see. We'll see. You tore your ACL in the same knee twice. That's very concerning. If you tore it once and then tore the other one, cool, we can figure that out. But you just tore the same knee twice. How do I know you won't go out there in the midst of a breakout season and tear the third time?
I have no idea, bro.
So that's my concern with him. But who's do you have any other teams or just that one?
Just that one because I'm like Kansas City was a team for me, but they brought in Kenneth Walker. I seen Seattle. People talking about Seattle, but I'm like,
I think they like Zach.
Like I'm like, why would they do that if you have Zach? So I'm like, that's really one of the only teams I could see is them. Maybe they talked about the Chargers, but I'm like, why would the Chargers trade for a running back? After they drafted a running back, unless the swap was Achane for Hampton. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that will really make sense. So I'm like, it's not really a lot of teams that I could see, trading for him. Maybe Arizona.
They need some offense out there. I mean, Marvin Harrison, he still ain't proved that he's that guy yet. So they got James Conner, but I think James Conner got hurt last year, but he's historically always hurt. So
and Benson ain't that good.
Yeah, no. And you liked him a lot too.
I did. But he got injured. I got some more. You want me to talk about mine first or you want to talk about yours?
We can bounce back and forth.
All right, let me do one more. All
right, go ahead.
Aaron Brewer.
Hold on, pause before you go. Is all your guys Dolphin players?
Yes.
You just trying to get rid of the whole team, bro?
Bro, hey, we're going to team. We're going to do it right.
All right, Aaron Brewer.
Aaron Brewer to the Baltimore Ravens for a third-round pick. The reason why I say a third, you could potentially get a second because he's an all-pro, but Baltimore just lost their center.
Yeah.
So you trade for an all-pro center. We might be to get the second if they desperate enough.
How many years is left on this contract?
I think maybe 2. But I think
he has 2 years left on the contract. You could finagle a second-round pick for him.
I think he's going to want an extension, bro. He just made the all-pro team. If
he's fighting for an extension during this trade, then yes, a third.
So I'm like, after that, well, since we're talking about all pros, I'll say Baltimore. There's a few other teams that maybe New England because they traded their center.
Yes, that's a good one. Even though you're trading with a division rival, which is always scary, because let's be honest, do you want to face that guy twice a year?
No, but we might get a second at that point easily. Yeah. I'll say another one since we're talking about all pros. Jordan Brooks to the Cowboys. He was an all-pro linebacker. He led the league in tackles. The Cowboys were horrible on defense.
Run defense especially.
I'll say they have so many picks, we might be able to get a second, but I'll say more likely a third. Both for Aaron Brewer and Brooks are 28. That's why I was thinking more of a third because they're, close to 30 and, in the NFL, they consider 30 old. So I'm like,
And you also got to look at their contract situation. How many years Brooks got left?
same with Brewer. They don't really have long-term contracts. So I'm like, that's my main thing is I think they're both going to want money. And even though they mentioned Aaron Brewer as a cornerstone, I'm like, you're going
He
through a
gonna want to get
rebuild.
paid, bro. He gonna
Huh?
want to get paid, especially if
Yeah.
he led the league in tackles. Just like
Yeah.
what's his
Brooks.
name?
Yeah.
Braun for the Eagles.
Yeah. Yeah. Brooks going to want to get paid. And then
He gonna want to
Brewer
get
and
paid.
Brooks are both 28. So I don't know if they're going to be on the team for the long term because it seems like you're going for long term. So it's like Waddle is younger than both of them. You traded him. So, what
And
would
Brooks
you do
didn't
with those
start the
two?
season. He was a rotational guy to start the year off, and then he eventually made such a big impact. You had to start him.
Yeah. I think Brooks will go to the Cowboys. There's plenty of teams that can use him. We can,
Yes.
the Chiefs could use him. It's a laundry mat of teams that can use them. But I just said the Cowboys because I think they need defense. We heard Jerry Jones talking about the defense, talking about we can't stop nobody.
Yeah.
Go trade for some defense then, buddy. We got you. Hey, give us a phone call. Give us a second real quick. We got you, buddy.
So that's 3 Dolphins. Who else you getting rid of? I know you got one more.
Zach Sealer. Zach Sealer to the Jaguars for a third. Zach Sealer, I think the best we get for him is a third. He's a dominant player. We've talked about his stats. And the Jaguars they would love to have a great defensive tackle that can help with that D line. Getting pressure, and he can play defensive end if you needed to get him. And we got a steal for him. We got him from Baltimore. Remember the year we're tanking for Tua? Mm-hmm. Well, we picked up a whole bunch of players like Cater Kohu, who went to Kansas City the next year. We picked up Zach Sealer from Baltimore. He was a 7th round pick, and he became a Pro Bowler on our team. We picked those guys up during a tank year. We might be able to find some more this year. And,
he still got the Kenneth Grant going into his second year.
Yeah. So I think Zach Sealer needs to be traded because we drafted 2 young defensive tackles and Kenneth Grant and Jordan Phillips. And Jordan Phillips was good. And then we had Zeke Biggers, who's actually been good too. So it's like, hey, won't we just continue with this youth movement? What do you think about what do you think about these trades?
No, I agree. Sell high because at this point, if you rebuilding the team, let's rebuild the team. Let's get off some of these bigger contracts. I understand you just paid him, but go ahead and move him. Like you said, you got 2 young guys you brought in. I like Grant a lot. He was one of the highest rated run stoppers in college football last year. I think his first year he was figuring it out. As we said before, there's been comments made about the actual coaching of the team. So now that there's a new head coach, I'm sure there's going to be new position coaches out there as well. So I think this will be a much better year for him to learn and be in a better position to be successful.
You know what the coaching staff said about Grant? They told him he needed to lose some weight.
The new coaching staff said that?
Yeah.
How heavy is he?
Last I checked, he was like 320.
It's not terrible, but I guess you want your D tackles to be a little quicker. You don't want to be too thin, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'll say what? They want him 310, 300.
Yeah. All right. Any more trades?
I want to ask this because this would be us together for this one. Do you think Crosby gets traded?
I feel like you have to trade him. Like, it's such a dicey situation. You brought him to your facility. Did you hear the process of what happened?
I didn't hear it.
So okay, so essentially is traditionally speaking, when you're bringing a guy in for the first time after you acquire him through trade, you fly them privately and you bring them in. They didn't fly them privately. They flew into Washington, right? Which means you fly into Washington. They put them in first class, but they flew into Washington, then sent a car for them, which is a 2-hour drive from D.C. to Baltimore. Mind you, money, he has a knee he just had surgery on. So what kind of physical could you have even given him that would make that knee look good outside of him being in the car for 2 hours on top of a 4-hour flight?
It seemed like they found out through grapevines that Trey Henderson would come cheaper, and that's what they did. They figured out a way to get out of it. That's what I think. They have buyer's
And then they
remorse.
keep pulling out this fool's gold message of, oh, we try to get both of them. You could have had both of them if it would have said, the Ravens have signed Trey Henderson and also are trying to acquire Max Crosby. Then it's like, okay, but you made the Crosby trade. Then 4 days later, you went out the trade. So no, we're not buying that BS. You can sit here and try to spin that to us, but no one's buying that. You realize the price tag was a lot higher on a guy coming off of knee surgery, and you wanted to go after Trey Henderson, who also is coming off of surgery as well. But we don't talk about that for whatever reason.
Well, you just remember, you'd have to pay twice with Trey Henderson, because with Trey, even though he's a little bit older, you just have to pay the cash. With Crosby, you have to pay. He has a big salary, and then you have to trade 2 first.
So yeah, so I mean, essentially, as they say, they like everyone's been saying in the media, they got cold feet. It's clear as day they got cold feet, and it's bad business. Like you said last week, it's hard for me to do business with you because this isn't the first time they've done this. So I think it'll be hard for Baltimore to maneuver and do business going forward. But it's a dog-eat-dog world. That's what makes this a cold game. But as far as Max, I feel like you have to move him. You might not want to. You might think, you got to keep him. But man, that's like sentencing somebody to death row, and then the last second he get off. And then it's like, okay, now you got to look this man in the face after you just sentenced him to death. It's like, hey, you're looking alive. How are you? So I think you got to move. What do you think?
A prediction. I agree with you, but my prediction, depending on what happens with AJ, New England, because they made it to the Super Bowl. I think the price tag could be a lot lower, but it would, because they now don't have as much money and everybody knows you're willing to trade them. But here's the thing with New England, you made it to the Super Bowl. You want to get better. You want to win it. No rookie is going to make more of an impact than Crosby his first year.
That's correct. Because, I mean, at least you know what you got with Crosby, So another thing, too, since we're talking about it, you know how much of a mental struggle that has to be? Because now, what if now Crosby's in his own head, like, am I okay? Is my knee that bad? So now you got to talk to your surgeon. The surgeon, I'm sure, is reassuring him, like, your knee's fine. You'll be ready to go by training camp. So it's like, dang, am I bad goods? Is my knee going to actually be okay? So now you got this man inside of his head. And Crosby's a tough guy. So I'm sure, he's probably not that bothered by it, but that's something that's crossed your mind. It had to have. It had to have in some way, shape, or form. But my next guy I think could get moved is Brian Thomas Jr. If you look at their midseason trade last year for Jacoby Myers, and then Myers immediately stepped in and started making plays, Brian Thomas looked lost the entire year in that offense. He looked lost the entire year, and I think him getting a fresh start on the team that's starting to look like they don't need him will be good for him. Number one on the list, I think, is New England. Take a young receiver with a young quarterback, pair them up. I think that'd be a great fit.
I thought Miami would be number one.
Not for Brian. I think because he's still young. You don't want to put a young guy in a young receiver room because then he's expected to be a leader. And then when he's expected to be a leader, he's not naturally a leader. It's going to tend to lead to a lot of confusion and a lot of thinking. We already seen him dropping balls last year because he was thinking too much. We don't need to send him to Miami to keep thinking. So that's why I don't like Miami.
What if Malik pull him on his wing? Hey, man. You my number
Malik's
one
still
receiver.
young himself. He's not old enough to be pulling nobody in this league. He's on a rental. He got a rental. How you gonna teach me to drive your Lamborghini in this rental? It don't work like that, So I think that'll be a good situation. There's some older receivers in there that can take the young guy and teach him, a couple things. You'll build chemistry, like I said, a young receiver with a young quarterback. That gives you the opportunity to still go get some offensive linemen. Probably need a tackle because your boy Will Campbell's getting moved to guard.
I thought you said center last week.
Huh?
You said center last week.
He's gonna be somewhere in the interior. And it's a lot more affordable than AJ Brown. For Brian Thomas Jr., I think at this point you could probably get him for a first and a fifth. And I mean, or you can probably for dangling get a second and a third.
That's what I was thinking, second.
Yeah. Due to, especially last year, like I said, he looked bad last year. So I think you could get him at a good deal. Number 2, Kansas City. I mean, I think especially we saw what Rice looked like, Rashee Rice, and he was a stud. But Rashee is getting in a lot of trouble off the field. And with his more recent legal issues, there's a world that exists that Kansas City cuts him due to this.
Wow.
So he's in some hot water. There's rumors circulating like if this escalates to where it could potentially go, the Kansas City Chiefs will release him. So if they release him, that means they need a receiver one. And I think Brian Thomas Jr. in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes, who's going to make him look better?
Travis Kelce under his wing.
Exactly. He's around a lot of high energy guys who are a lot of people that are going to believe in him. I felt like he wasn't getting that in Jacksonville. It didn't seem like a lot of people believed in him because how easily he was phased out once Jacoby got there.
Kansas City knows how to win, Jake, because think about this. They got Kenneth Walker coming in who's won a Super Bowl. They've won a Super Bowl. You got Andy Reid who's won multiple. You got Travis Kelce. You got Patrick Mahomes who is the greatest quarterback in our, the recent generation so far.
Yeah, you got Mahomes who's elite. Their offensive scheme is elite. The coaching is elite. Their leadership is elite. So I think, and they obviously could use a guy like him. And so I think that would be a really good fit for him. Mahomes and the guy with that size and speed would definitely. Could you imagine that on Madden? Mahomes with Brian Thomas Jr.
No, my dream would be my dream would be Mahomes with old buddy from the Raiders.
So I think they'll definitely unlock a level of Brian Thomas. And I think a big thing too, being a young receiver, is having that confidence instilled in you. Like you need somebody feeding that life into you. And I think Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid will be feeding that life into Brian Thomas and unlock a different monster, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's talented. He has talent. He's shown it his rookie season.
And for this one, I got a first, a third, and a second. And the reason why is because obviously Kansas City's not going to give up that 9th pick. So since you're not giving up that 9th pick, you have that late first, which is essentially a high second. So it basically is 2 seconds and a third because you have to charge Kansas City because it's Kansas City. You can't cut them no deals. I mean, it's clean competitive, but it's not reckless. You still can make some moves.
The Bills cut them deals, bro.
The Bills is weird. They have a weird dynamic with the Bills. The Bills are giving them 2 studs twice. Trent McDuffie and Patrick Mahomes were essentially gifted by the Bills, which is nuts to think about.
Wasn't Worthy gifted by the Bills too?
I think, but he hasn't panned out yet. But 2 guys that hit for sure has been trades with the Bills. But yes, if Worthy pans out, then yes, that's three trades with the Bills that they've turned into him. And my last one for him, and I think this one may shock you, Brian Thomas Jr. to the Raiders.
What?
And the reason why is name 2 receivers on that team, Money.
Thornton.
That's one.
Brock Bowers.
That's the tight end.
That's the other receiver.
Exactly. They have nobody in that receiving room. I think with a new head coach, a new GM, and obviously they're bringing in Mendoza, a young quarterback. He needs somebody he can trust early on. Obviously Brock Bowers, but Brock dealt with injuries last year. So can we trust he's going to be healthy this year?
He's going to be handing the ball off to his running back. They paid that center $1 million.
Yeah. I mean, Genty's back there too, but you need a receiver. You need someone that can come in and be an instant receiver one. They've been searching for an identity. They didn't have any explosive plays last year. They weren't physical enough, and they didn't have a consistent receiver one. Dante Thornton on paper should be their receiver one, but he made a lot of mental mistakes. There was a lot of times where he was starting to start the year off. I don't know if you noticed that. He was a starter.
I don't know.
And then he kept running the wrong routes. He was running the wrong routes and he was dropping passes thrown to him, which eventually it's like, bro, we only can lead you to the water. And so eventually he fell out of favor. So I think Brian Thomas Jr. going there will be a good fit for him. It's a fresh start on the team, bringing in the quarterback that you can work with and grow with. Throw it deep and see what happens type of energy. That's what he can give you with Mendoza and the guy like that.
Okay.
And then you'll give your offense some bolster because you believe in. So let's just say for what it's worth, I think let's say Ashton Genty is a good player, right? We can agree on that. He's a good player. So then you have a good running back, a great tight end, a potentially superstar receiver because he does have that potential in him. And then you bring in a young quarterback that everyone believes is the best quarterback in this draft.
Young offense.
Young offense.
If I was the Raiders, I'd tank twice. I'll trade this pick, and I'll go get me a quarterback next year because I think every quarterback next year is better than Mendoza. That's what I would do.
So I think the asking price for this one will probably be a first, a second, a third, and you can really negotiate it to probably get a first, a third, and a fifth because you are the Raiders, so all your picks have a little more juice to them.
Okay.
And I think the ceiling and the floor is crazy. Best case, Brian Thomas becomes a receiver one. Offense will have juice. The Raiders become a competitive in the division. Worst case, the QB plays, holds them back, and then the pick looks expensive, and then you're still stuck behind Kansas City. But I think worst case scenario still it wouldn't be because Brian's playing bad.
You have to make it. You have to make a change. You have to take a chance. Kansas City brought in a superstar running back. The Chargers made the playoffs last year. The Broncos just brought in Waddle, and they were a step away from the Super Bowl. You have to do something because you step stool. Everybody beating up on you. You're the little brother of the division.
Yeah, for sure. That's what it's come down to. So you gotta make some type of leap, and I think that would be a really good one. And then they'll give the fans something to be hype about. Because I'm low-key excited about it, and it's not even a real trade. It's like, could you imagine him trading there? And it's like Mendoza coming in like, all right, they got me somebody. I already got Brock, and I got Brian Thomas Jr. You know,
play action.
Not really.
Genty look good at play action.
So yeah, so that would definitely give the fans something to be excited about next year. And the third one, but I'm not sure if I'm in love with talking about it, is Brandon Ayuk.
Oh man,
yeah. And one team that could use him, who could use a receiver, is New England. I think New England's the best one because New England has been on a budget more recently about a lot of things. They haven't really been trying to go pay no high price tags for anybody. After the year and the headache that Ayuk has given the Niners, I believe the price tag for him has significantly dropped. You can probably get him for a 5th or a 6th round pick.
I think they're gonna cut him.
That was the thing, and that's another weird thing. Supposedly they said they were going to cut him, but then the date came around for them to cut him, and they said, "Oh, well, we're not going to necessarily cut him just yet. We're going to wait. Wait for what?" And the only reason I can think of logically you're waiting is you're trying to move him.
Yeah.
But who can you convince to roll that dice on?
New England, maybe Kansas City.
No, I don't think Kansas City would. They already got Rashee Rice going on. Now you're going to trade for a guy who might not even show up to work. So what team could potentially run that risk of a guy not showing up for work? I think the New England, because he'll be cheap. You still got cap room. You still can sign a guy or draft a kid in the draft.
Seattle potentially. Hey, we need to run it back. Hey, the dude don't show up. We might win a Super Bowl anyways.
Yeah, because who did Rashee sign with?
Yeah, he re-signed with them.
Rashid Shaheed? Oh, he stayed there, right?
Okay. Yeah. But you can get him for cheap. You want to run it back. You believe in Zach, go get a receiver for cheap.
Yeah, I think Ayuk would be super affordable. But it also depends on, does he want to play football again? I haven't heard him make any type of public announcements or anything like that. The last thing I heard from him is when the Niners said, "Hey, we're taking back your $30 million signing bonus." And Brandon Ayuk told the NFLPA, which is the Players Association, "Are you going to, fight it or, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but basically rebuttal it." And he was like, "No, it's fine." So it's like, are you dealing with like some mental health stuff? Because if that's the case, that changes
He
this
might.
whole conversation.
He might, because he's taking a lot of hits as a receiver. You're taking hits in your head.
It just his whole situation just doesn't make any sense.
It
So that's
doesn't.
just a weird one. So that's why I was like, do I really want to do Brandon Ayuk? So yeah, that was a potential. If he can come back to the guy he was before injury was terrible. So if he can get to the guy that got himself that big contract, then yeah, I think he can definitely help a team out, especially a team like New England. But if he plays how he played before the injury, then bad news bears, man.
All right. You ready for the next topic, bro?
Yeah, I'm ready. All right, we got some NBA buzz. Before we get into the big NBA news going on, is there anything in basketball you want to talk about?
I feel bad about this. Cade Cunningham is out indefinitely due to a collapsed lung. How do you feel about that one?
For what it's worth, collapse lung sounds a lot worse than it is. The expectation he'll be ready to go for the playoffs, maybe a week before. But I think obviously you don't want to. He's going to be a little rusty, which is concerning, and it also changes how you look at Detroit now, because you go into round one against Detroit, their star player is rusty. He's having to come back. He's probably on the minute restriction.
I want him. I want him round one.
Yes, exactly. So I think that kind of hurts them in the long run, because teams are going to look at them like food. So that is unfortunate, though. Also, the Miami Heat have failed from 6th place back to 7th place.
No, they're in 8th, Jay.
Oh, they fell to 8th? That's unfortunate.
They fell to 8th.
So
Magic in 7th, they're in 8th, bro. Like, come on, bro. Our teams.
We went to
slacking.
5th and 6th, and then you sure Orlando fell?
Yeah, 7th and 8th now. Toronto is 5th.
We did fall to 7th. I don't know what happened. We were 5th and 6th, and then we were on that nice little win streak, and then now we're back at 7th. That's crazy. But all right, so the big NBA news is expansion talk has been heating up. The NBA has been talked about expanding, and the two cities that are being heavily discussed as the future locations are Las Vegas and Seattle. The NBA has been seriously discussing expansion for the first time in years, and nothing is officially locked in yet, but the conversation seems to be getting closer than it's been in a long time. And why now? The league is making crazy money from new TV deals coming in, and basketball is becoming more global than ever. Cities are begging for teams. The two current front runners, Seattle, which would be a lock, they will be the first team to get one. They lost their team in 2008. They have a brand new arena, Climax Pledge Arena, and fans have been starving for hoops ever since. And this one feels a little more inevitable, and it's not about if, more so when. Las Vegas, the flashy wild card, already hosts the NBA Summer League, sports gambling home. NFL and NH teams are already thriving there. Vegas is becoming an NBA shiny new toy, and the league would love that.
It seems like they're trying to follow the NFL, because NFL has 32. They only had 30.
Yeah.
Now they're adding 2.
I mean,
is it just me?
Definitely. No, I mean, I won't say they're trying to copy the NFL, but I think having 2 more teams would make a lot of sense. So essentially what needs to happen first, before anything happens, Adam Silver presses the expand button, and there is one big boss battle. New TV deals, the NBA is negotiating a massive media rights deal. Once that money is secured, the expansion gets real, because the expansion teams cost billions of dollars, roughly $4 to $6 billion each, to make it happen. How expansion would work: if they add 2 teams, the league goes from 30 to 32 teams, 16 teams per conference, which would mean division realignments and expansion draft. Teams get to protect players, team pick the rest that's left over. And what this means is talent gets more spread out, more jobs for players, deeper league, because slightly lower overall competition at first. But it also opens the door to new stars, new storylines, and new team rivals.
Yeah.
So my question to you, Money, is the expansion actually good for the NBA, or does it water down the product?
I'm going to say this. Another thing we have to talk about is, if the expansion does happen, who would get moved to the East?
I'll get there. I got all that down. We'll
Okay,
get there.
cool. Do I think that expansion is good for the league? I think Seattle deserves their team back. It's messed up to be a Seattle fan and see the team become the Thunder and they win a championship. That has to be sickening.
And you won the championship 2 years prior.
Yep. So I'll say the thing is, I think Seattle deserves their team. It seems inevitable, I think I said it wrong, but it seems like it's likely to happen due to the fact of everyone is moving a team to Vegas. It's like Vegas is the new hotspot. So I'll say I think it's going to happen. How do I feel about it? I think it wouldn't water down a product. I think, it would have a chance for these players who aren't superstars, the chance to become a superstar. If you think about it, because, hey, they may get more playing time. Every team, and then we have to talk about this, every team only can protect 8 players. So guess what? Some players are going to get an opportunity with one of these 2 teams. And we've done it in 2K and everything. And I think it's a real cool process. Sometimes a team may not protect a player that we're like, I would have been protected them, but they're like, nah, we don't want him.
And that puts a chip on that player's shoulder too. Could you imagine, for example, let's say the expansion draft is happening in 2 weeks and the Charlotte Hornets announced their players protected. And one of the names not selected is LaMelo Ball. Could you imagine the chip that puts on his shoulder? He might actually start taking hoops more serious than he's been taking it.
But we know that'll never happen. In another million years.
Hey, it's been some in the past when it was a big name not protected. I was shocked. So it gives teams the opportunity to get from under some of these contracts. Because like off the top of my head, a bad contract. Who's a bad contract off the top of my head? Paul George is in a horrendous contract. You don't protect him, and the team picks up Paul. Now they inherit that bad contract, and it's off your books. So
I don't think no team picking that contract up, bro.
So if everything lines up, later this year, early next year will be the official announcement. Late 2027, early 2028, the team could potentially start playing. So how would this work? The league adds a new team. The NBA would approve 2 new teams. So we'll just go for the sake of the argument, Seattle and Vegas. That means the league will go to 32 teams. Each new ownership group pays $4 to $6 billion for an expansion fee. That money is split between the current 30 teams. So the owners would love this free money because the team wants to join. The NBA isn't doing this unless they're getting paid. We all know that. Next will be conference realignment. You can't just drop 2 teams in randomly. The league has to rebalance. Likely scenario, one current Western team moves out to the East, and then you have 16 and 16. This matters for the playoffs and rivalries. Expansion draft, which is always fun. Every team gets to protect 8 players. The rest of the roster is exposed and have the ability to be drafted. New team take turns picking players from those unprotected lists. The only rules is you can only take 1 player per team. Once the team loses their player, they're safe from further picks. So, for example, we'll stick with
we do Miami. Tyler Hero's not protected.
Tyler Hero's not protected, and let's say Bam, because those are two big names. Obviously, this is a hypothetical. People at home, so bear with us. So if Tyler Hero is selected, they can't double back and go get Bam. So once you lose a player, your team is safe from further picks. And then moving on to that, then that would mean the building of the roster. Expansion teams don't just rely on that draft. They have the expansion draft. They also have the NBA draft. They end the draft like a normal team. Usually get decent position early on. I think the lowest they'll give them is like 5.
No, they need the number 1 pick. I think to me, if you're going to bring in an expansion team, they need pick 1 and 2, at least for the 2 years, because you want them to be successful. So how are they going to eat? They need to have the best 2 players in the draft. Like hypothetically, Vegas would get the number 1 pick the first year. Seattle would get number 2. Then the year after, Seattle gets number 1. Vegas gets number 2.
Yeah, I mean, no. My thing is, how would you figure out who gets 1 and 2?
You do like a drawing or flip a coin or something. You do a
lottery?
You do like a lottery between them 2.
Which is what the NBA literally does. But since they have tons of cap space, they can overpay free agents that's out there. So teams that we've seen happened before, they'd be like, hey, we know they offered you 110, but we'll give you 130. And so that'll be an easy way to convince some of these guys to go to these new teams.
Yeah.
Early on, the teams get full salary cap flexibility. They usually get some extra friendly rules early on, like cap exceptions due to the fact they're a new team trying to compete. The league wants them to be competitive eventually, not terrible forever. So year one, they won't be a contender, probably not even a playoff team. Scrappy, random, dangerous, and then any given night, but teams still trying to build their identity. The hidden strategy is layering it to where you leave high salary players unprotected. That's how teams try to play it. Like I said in the example, you want those high salary players unprotected, hoping the team picks them to use the clear cap space. Meanwhile, the expansion teams takes that hit, which is a bad contract, to get picks attached to or underrated players who just need an opportunity. So, Money wanted to talk about this. Who would switch conferences? I have 3 candidates here, okay?
Okay.
We're going to go from worst to least. For number 3, I have Memphis. This is essentially one of my dark horses. It works because they're super close to the Eastern teams. Rivalries with Southeastern teams could be fire. They already kind of fit what's currently going on in the West, so it's not as obvious as Minnesota. But moving east isn't just logistic. It'll be competitive, advantage, shift, disguise, and geography. And then number 2, the Pelicans. It works because they're close to the East than the teams in the West. The travel will be a lot easier for them financially, and then it's easier to form rivals more naturally, such as Atlanta and Miami. The NBA has historically kept the Pelicans in the West, so it wouldn't really be in their favor. And obviously, number 1 will be Minnesota. So why this makes the most sense? Geographically, they're close to the East. Obviously, if you look at them compared to Grizzlies, they're not as close as the Grizzlies. But if you look at the surrounding teams, they actually are closer to Eastern teams. For example, the Memphis Grizzlies, the teams they are close to are Dallas, Houston, New Orleans, San Antonio, and OKC. Where do all those teams play in the Money?
The West.
Okay, Minnesota is closer to Milwaukee, Chicago, Indiana, and Detroit. Where does those teams play?
The East.
So as far as a basketball standpoint, they are way closer there, and that'll make it easier for them to play teams going to the East opposed to the West. And also, Minnesota's an extremely competitive team. If you drop Minnesota in the East, I think they immediately become a top 3 team in the East.
I think they'd become the best team in the East.
Yes, exactly. Best team in the East. I'm right there with you. They'll become arguably the best team, but for sure a top 3 team. So overall, do we think this? What do you think of that? What do you think of those 3 teams? And obviously Minnesota being the favorite to move.
To me, I was thinking, what if they just decide to just rebalance the whole conferences as a whole? And it might be instead of just one, it might be multiple teams. What if Milwaukee gets sent over to the West? There's so many different things, but I'll say it to make it easier. I agree with you with Minnesota being the team that moves because they have the young superstar to add to the East, and they're closer to the East than the West.
No, for sure. I mean, like I said, if you look at it, they're close to the East and the West based on the other teams that they're surrounding. You take a very competitive team with a young budding superstar who some people are already saying is the face of the league once LeBron retires. So you have that guy out East. I think that will really change a lot of math. So do we think it's smart for the NBA to expand? From the NBA's perspective, I think it's a no-brainer. A new team costs $46 billion, like we said earlier. That money gets split amongst current owners. So as an owner, you get $800 million because the team wants to join your league. Who's going to say no to that?
Nobody.
And from a basketball standpoint, as one of our friends said the other day, the talent pool is deeper than ever in the league. It's so many good players on teams that this league can afford to have a couple guys spread out more. And that's honestly not a thought that crossed my mind until he said it and I thought about it. And I was like, there's a lot of talent. Like some teams have 8 players on their team. They are legit stars. and they're not getting that opportunity because they're buried on the depth chart.
Look at the Heat with Tyler Hero and Powell. They both play like the same position. They both can get a bucket, but one is coming off the bench and the other starting. It's like,
No,
instead of
one's
Powell.
making $80 million and the other one's making 10.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, Powell probably could go to another team and get buckets and get his 20 because he was an all-star instead of Tyler Hero, or opposite Tyler Hero go to another team, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to think about it. Talent gets spread. Some players get to become the face of the franchise on a new team.
Correct. And like I said, the talent pool is deeper than ever. It's not just Europe and America. We got guys in Europe, Africa, Canada, and Australia. So there's more NBA level players on roster spots, meaning more hoopers get to eat. That means also new stars get to shine on new teams. So we'll see someone who's been a role player his whole career potentially turn to a superstar because he's been given the green light on his new expansion team. New cities create new energy. So Seattle alone, could you imagine that first game back, Seattle gets their team? That first is going to be sold out. We know that first and foremost. Those fans are going to be insane because they instantly have a fan base, instant rivalry with OKC. Beautiful storylines going to be created.
Yeah, they have to put them in OKC division. They have to.
I think creating that would definitely have some, a beautiful rivalry there. Vegas obviously has the entertainment capital. Celebrities going to be courtside damn near every night in Vegas. So I think it would be great to have that going. Now, the thing that is on the downside of that, those expansion teams will be weaker early on. They'll have bad records, no identity, and it'll take a couple years to build because you have to get a coach that can establish an identity. Once that coach establishes the identity, then we can start to build the players around that.
Think about this, Jay. More jobs, more coach. Some coaches may get an opportunity that they would have never got because it's two expansion teams.
So for sure. So I got some notes for you that you ain't expect. I got how many I took? I got 2 dark horse cities that could potentially get a team. You ready?
Okay.
So where's my notes? So the first one, Vancouver.
Another Canada?
Yes. Vancouver, Canada had a team. Do you remember? They had the Grizzlies from 95 to 2001. And the thing that really hurt them back then were the expansion rules were brutal. You couldn't get top picks early on. So they was essentially left picking late in the draft as an expansion team. So they had a weak roster. They had losing seasons, kept stacking up. After all them losing seasons, low attendance happened as well because it's like, why would I go watch this team lose every game? So eventually, Vancouver Grizzlies moved to the Memphis, and that failure had more to do with timing than the city itself. Currently, Canada is a huge basketball factory now. Some of the best players in the world are from Canada, such as SGA, Jamal Murray, RJ Barrett, to name a few.
Andrew Wiggins.
Exactly. That's why I said to name a few. So Canada will have a nice storyline, especially with all these kids coming from there in the league currently. The Raptors will finally the Raptors changed everything by winning the championship. They built a massive fan base, made basketball cool in Canada again. So that will help Vancouver be a potential landing spot. The money is way different now. Vancouver is one of the wealthiest cities in North America. Corporate sponsorships, no problem. Arenas already exist. Roger Arena, you just probably renovate it. But with all that money coming in from sponsorships, it's going to be easy to do that. So it's no longer a struggling city like it was in the 90s. It's a premium real estate. The strategic angle, the NBA is thinking about globally, right? So Vancouver gives them a second Canada team, more international reach, a natural rival for Toronto, because then you can put them in the West because the Raptors are in the East. The only major concerns is like the traveling issues, but I feel like we made it work with Toronto, so they can make it work there. So nothing really crazy. You'll have to compete with hockey, but I think they're diehard fans enough to where their support. I think they can coexist. The cost of living is definitely one, since it has boomed as far as real estate, is one of the most expensive cities in the world. But players would probably, ask for a little more money. So who wouldn't want to play there? You can go to Toronto and get a $200 million contract. You go to Vancouver give you 210. And since it has a former history, I think that'll really bring out the fire and the drive for teams to go there. You could essentially try to take back that old teal and black colorway, but I think they should just establish themselves as a new team. Because the Grizzlies kind of took that for you. And occasionally the Grizzlies do wear those teal Vancouver jerseys. So I think it may be in their best interest to just completely rebrand. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think it's a good idea. I think it's cool, but I just don't see it carrying the weight as Seattle or Vegas. That's the main thing.
Even though they had a team like Seattle?
Yeah.
Because I think that's why they have firm ground and have a firm stance in this conversation, for the simple fact they had a team. Now, granted, they weren't the best, but that was the NBA really fucked them over. Like, if you look at, like I said, you can't have a brand new expansive team picking 18th.
Yeah, that was bad.
So that was a bad job by the NBA. And then my second team, Mexico City. NBA wants to go international. Let's go international. The market size of Mexico City is insane. Mexico City has roughly 22 million people in the metro area. In the metro area, money. So that's bigger than most NBA cities off the back. So it wouldn't be a small market by any stretch of the imagination. It has money printing potential to bring in so much money from sponsored TV deals, merch sales across Latin America. It will bring in a lot of those Hispanic cultures because, Hispanic people are very prideful individuals and they support their country to, the bitter end. And could you imagine a Latin country gets a team and it's like Mexico had a basketball team? All those Latin American cultures and Hispanic cultures are going to flood to support that team. I truly believe that they will get the support of all those from Cuba, from Spain, from the DR. All those teams will support Mexico's NBA team 100%. Even if they don't have Mexican players on it per se, huh?
A massive market.
Yes, massive untapped market right there. So it will have regular season games in Mexico City. Your G League can be played in the capital of Mexico. That's not random. You're definitely testing the water. What makes it different is it's not like Seattle and Vegas. The NBA just went international for real. So it'll be different language, different culture, different fan base, different energy. Every home game will really probably give World Cup vibes. Because I know whenever we had those NFL games, and I know basketball and football is different, but as far as the support and the energy from the city, whenever we had those NFL games in Mexico City, sold out crowd, people are going nuts. Neither team could hear. And could you imagine they're just going for the love of the game, money. Could you imagine they're going to support their team? The Mexico City Eagles or whatever, they're going to support Mexico City playing the Phoenix Suns. Insane. I think that game would be insane energy. Now, the thing that would make this a little tough is travel going to be insane. Team flying internationally regularly would be very expensive. Custom logics and scheduling headaches. So that could get tricky fast. And they also will be playing in a very high altitude, higher than Denver. Because, Denver elevation is about 5,200 feet. Mexico City's elevation is 7,300.
You'll be in the best shape of your life as an athlete.
Exactly. So visiting teams will be, why am I tired in the first quarter? So it could be a home field advantage. Yeah. It could be a nice home field advantage. So another thing is currency and business complication, exchange rates for American dollars, players' taxes, and contract structures. It wouldn't be impossible, but it will definitely be complex. and player preference. Some players would love it. Some players would be like, nah, I don't want to play for Mexico City. And then free agency could get wild too because teams, I feel like now teams don't want to play for the Raptors because it's in Canada.
Yeah.
And so
I think it's true.
Yeah, so I think they could have a very competitive advantage. Like I said, strong home court games, the travel fatigue of opponents, that altitude is going to be kicking their ass. And a playoff, could you imagine a Mexico City playoff game? I think the potential is so high for it, man. Because those fans are going to go all out for their team. And then don't do this, money. If you incorporate some type of red, white, and green into that uniform or them jerseys in the home playoff game for Mexico City and the NBA, insane. They're going to be going nuts. So, but, the truth of the matter is Mexico City isn't like the next expansion team. It's more like if the NBA wants to change the future of the league, how would they do it? So short term, this wouldn't happen, but long term, I think it could be very possible, especially if we entertain the idea of going back to Vancouver. Why not entertain the idea of going to Mexico? Because after all, FIBA is basketball. So
yeah, it is. I'll say that's an interesting one. I'll say, me personally, I don't see that being the first team, but if they decide to go to 34 teams, possible.
I think they should be. If we go to 34 teams, they should be definitely on the high end of that list. I low-key think they should be on the low end of this list to 32.
Yeah, because
Vegas is becoming saturated, in my opinion, man.
Yeah, all these sports teams.
They got a hockey team. They're getting a baseball team, now potentially a basketball team. I think I would rather go to Mexico
and a football team.
Yeah, and a football team. So you're going to have all four major sports. And, I mean, really, Vegas isn't a big market. I guess they consider it a big market because of the revenue from gambling and all that stuff, but Vegas isn't that big of a city. So,
man, you got me thinking, man, this is real interesting. This.
At the end of the day, it's a business, man. A business plan is to make as much money as possible. How can I make as much money as possible?
That's a fact. Anything else you got regarding the expansions, or you good?
No. Anything else you because I kind of was talking that whole segment. Anything you wanted to talk about as far as expansion?
Nah, I'm good. I got to chill, bro.
So no, I find it very exciting. There's a lot of different ways teams can go with that. As far as the league can go with it, it'll be entertaining to see the coming years. So, in closing, do you think we will see the NBA expand? And do you think they should expand?
I'll say yes to both. It's starving fan bases. People want to see what's going on, who the teams could be. They're going to be in big cities. I think it's going to happen. And I think, when it's dealing with money, it will happen.
Yeah. So, one more question too before we go. If Seattle gets a team back, do you think they should rebrand or bring back the Supersonics?
Bring back the Supersonics.
Really?
Yes.
Because that would get kind of dicey because the history of that team was absorbed by OKC. So that means Supersonics will be taking their team history back. That means OKC loses the championship historically.
I'll say the thing would be you would make it similar to the Supersonics, but not have the same name.
What you mean? You're going to be the Seattle Sonics?
No. You had the same color scheme, but different name.
So you think they should call themselves something else?
Yes.
Yeah, I disagree. I think they should do full rebrand. Like you want to do, like I said, your team history was absorbed by OKC. Unless you're going to put in some type of motion to get that history returned back to Seattle, I think you should just go completely new rebrand. You should be the Seattle Alligator Crocs. I don't know, something. You should be something else. I think that will not only give it a fresh new spin and also bring some new excitement. Like, all right, we getting the team there. And then those NBA players that we have from that Washington, Seattle area will be like, damn, man, like Seattle getting the team, the so-and-sos. So I think it'll be something to look forward to. I think that would be better and refreshing because Las Vegas, this will be their first team. So whatever they become, the Las Vegas Pirates or whatever they decide to do, that's going to be the first iteration of it. It's going to be fresh. So I think to combat that, to try to steal some of those fans, you should do the same thing.
I think it'll be interesting, but I'm wondering, I want to see what happens in the next few weeks regarding this situation.
I don't think we're going to hear too much about it right now because we got the NBA playoffs around the corner, which start April 18th. So in a month, essentially. So I think since that happens in a month, we won't hear too many peeps about it, at least for right now. But I think at the offseason, that's when we'll hear it heat up. Or at least the talks will be more frequent.
Yes. Yes, but we'd like to thank everybody from joining us, man. We really enjoy this, and I think this is a really great subject that we got to have. And thank you for everybody who comments, likes, subscribes. We're on the road to 100 subscribers, so make sure to like, comment, share.
Yes, please hit those buttons. If there's any topics you want to hear us guys talk about, leave a comment, let us know. We'll gladly respond to it. And if you got any questions about things that we might have said or you want to challenge it, go ahead. We're free. We're always open to have that conversation. But until the next one, I'm Jason HD, aka Two Wavy Jason.
I'm F Money and Money for short.
Peace.
Take it easy, y'all.